Good morning, Philadelphia. I'm Sarah Kaufmann. We have Stu Race. He's not our side help. He's actually the head today. Scott's gone. We have Doug Kiker of RetroFitCareers here today to talk about his job portal that he has launched with his partner. It's a great show. Enjoy.
Hey Philadelphia, welcome back to another edition of Race on Main. Today we have a wonderful show planned for you. A gentleman by the name of Doug Kiker is going to tell us about his business called RetroFitCareers. And we're going to have a lot of good information, a lot of good stuff where that's concerned. But before we get into that, don't forget to take a look at all of our past shows at raceonmain.com. Or on YouTube, they're there also. But before we get into it, you can probably see that I'm not sitting in my usual seat. Scott is at the dentist right now. He had a bad tooth situation. So, but the show must go on, the taping must take place. So I'd like you to welcome my favorite co-host, Sarah Kaufmann. Sarah, welcome back to the show.
Thank you,
The homecoming queen. Very nice, very nice.
Thank you.
So, we're going to talk about, we decided that we were going to talk about Bernie Sanders and free college tuition.
Yes.
So, where do you come down on free college? We try to be, we always try to be not very political.
Of course.
And it's our goal that the people out there don't know what our politics are, but
yes.
what do you feel about free college tuition and loan forgiveness? It's not just,
right.
It's a $1.8 trillion forgiveness. So where do you come down on that?
Oh, I mean, as someone who has a ton of loans and whatnot, I went to school in New York, so if you can only, you can imagine, because your daughter went.
Where did you go to school?
I went to FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology.
In Chelsea.
2 degrees. So, I mean.
Here you are on TV.
Here I am on TV. I mean, it would be, it would be great if that is possible, but to play a little devil's advocate, is it feasible?
I don't know. It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
I will tell you that when I graduated from law school, which was my last year of school in 1991, I had at that time, I think I had something like $40,000 worth of debt between undergrad and professional school, and paid it off over the 10 years. And as a young professional, I was married. It was a burden. But let me give you another side of that. My wife, at the same time as I was actually, when I graduated from law school, my wife then went to medical school.
Right.
So her loans for medical school are such that we've paid them dollar for dollar through the years, and I'm now 55 years old. And I have just 6 years left on my wife's loans. Forget about all the girls who's.
Of course, I get it. So, I mean, I've accepted the fact that I'll be paying it for a long time.
It's just, if you're okay with the idea that you're going to work through lunch on the day of your funeral, then it's all good.
Right.
So there you have it. So is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? It's a thing. Let's see
definitely
what
a thing.
Fair
I
enough.
wonder if, if it was to actually happen, given that it's free, at least from the free college standpoint, would people take school as seriously, or would they go and be like,
Do you think was that in the back of your mind when you were in school? Geez, I have all these loans, I need to do good in school?
Not me personally, but I wonder if,
I don't think anybody thinks about that. I remember when I came out of school, came out of law school, and I think they still do it, where you have the 6-month grace period.
Oh, they do, yeah.
Well, for real loans, you don't have a grace period.
Right.
You start paying it back next month. Your mortgage, very next month. You don't get them deferred for 4 years and then a 6-month grace period. And I remember as a young, and I had courses in law school and secured transactions and all that stuff. As a young lawyer, I can remember the first time I sat in a closing with the senior partner of the firm, and I made a statement with basically put my foot in my mouth that, oh, well, it's okay. They have, 4 years before they have to start paying the loan back. And he looked at me like, it doesn't work that way in the real world. So I think it might even create misunderstandings with regard to how financing works and how you need to be, Johnny on the spot with the check when you take the money. So we'll see how it plays out.
Exactly.
Fair enough. How about, tell us about Doug Kiker.
Oh my gosh, we have Doug Kiker here today. He is a resident of the Philadelphia area. He owns a construction business, but more importantly, we congratulate him for being 14 plus years sober. And with that, he has created his own business called RetroFitCareers, kind of similar to an Indeed or ZipRecruiter. It is a job board that allows people in recovery to access jobs from employers who have been screened and, discussed with the Retrofit team to offer jobs and, a nice work-life balance to those in recovery. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Sarah.
Of course.
Thanks for being here, Doug. And again, I get the first question, which is kind of not my comfort zone, but what the heck. But, the first question usually takes the form of RetroFitCareers. Where'd the idea come from? How'd it get started? Tell us all about it.
Well, I have a partner in this. His name is Dan Schmallen. I have to mention Dan.
Who's your partner?
So Dan and I were actually at a 12-step meeting together. And prior to the meeting starting, we were having a discussion out front. And for years, because I'm in construction, I've been putting gentlemen in recovery to work. And they make good employees right off the bat. I'll tell you, guys that are in recovery work a little harder, they're a little smarter, and they have they're grateful that they're being given a second chance. So they wind up being good employees. Knowing that, I've been placing guys in jobs for years now, and I happened to mention to Dan that it would be so much easier for me if there were just a job board available to do so, something similar to ZipRecruiter or Monster. And he said, there has to be something like that available. And so Dan went and did some research, and it didn't take long to find out there is nothing like that available. And why not, with what's going on in the country today? And alcoholism has been around for forever. The opioid crisis is newsworthy. It's up front now, and it should be, because people are dying, at an unbelievable pace. But still, last year there were 96,000 alcohol-related deaths, as usual. And so anyway, Dan went and did some research, found out that there is nothing available. We went to the rehabs looking for a job board. Is there someone just posting a job on a cork board? And there's nothing. There are some individuals and some small enterprises putting people to work, but to go out and actually sell to the employers the concept of putting someone to work who's in recovery doesn't exist. There's no information out there for an employer to go to and say, well, if I did decide to do that, what can I expect? What can I do? That doesn't exist. And they're the things we've found out since we started the enterprise. So it took us about 7 or 8 months to put the website together, hire an IT guy, and put the idea together. And then we launched. Actually, it'll be a year in October that we've been up and running.
Congratulations. First year's the hardest.
Yeah, and it's been a struggle. Again, no one knows we're here. I mean, Dan and I have funded this ourselves, so we don't have an advertising budget. And thank you.
That's our pleasure. Speaking of advertising, let's get this out right now. Website, RetroFitCareers.com. There is an Instagram account at RetroFitCareers, and there's a Facebook page, RetroFitCareers. So it's pretty simple and straightforward, not a lot of different things to remember. RetroFitCareers.com, Instagram at RetroFitCareers, and Facebook, search Retrofit Careers. So, well, this is really something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So
Go ahead.
it's you and Dan. Obviously, you have your day job and you
Right.
know the construction business. When does he have a day job as well? Like, when do you find time to do all of this?
Dan's 61 and he has been in sales, and he took an early retirement, and Dan might be going back to work soon if we don't get this up and moving at
Right.
a profitable pace. The website is an LLC. The employer pays just like Momsters. The employer posts a job, and he pays. The applicants apply for free, and that's, we need both. We need both sides. We're trying to get applicants to make it more attractive for the employers, and the more employers, the more attractive. You know, so we're spending. Dan's spending his time on the phone during the day, setting up interviews. We've been to the state. We've been to the city of Philadelphia many times. One of the unique situations that occurs is people love the idea up front. They love it. Employers, when applicants understand that what we're up to, they'll put their applications up there. That's not a problem. The employers, they love the idea. We've been to the Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce. We've been to the Northeast Chamber of Commerce. We've been out to, we've been to Harrisburg, and they love the idea, and they want to use us. And then I think they when they think about it, and it's so far out of the box for them to consider using someone in recovery. And let me try to explain that a little better. So today, every employer out there right now probably has a percentage of their employee force is in active addiction. They're drinking or they're using some.
The numbers would seem to.
The numbers would bear that out. We have EAP programs funded by the insurance companies, and employers seem to be comfortable with that because it's business as usual. Mm-hmm. They've been dealing with this for years and years and years. Mm-hmm. So go to an employer and say, well, how about considering hiring someone who's in recovery, who has 90 days or a year or 5 years in recovery? And they go, that's a great idea, but let me think about it. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's the challenge, and I think it's just a lack of education, and that's part of what we were trying to do as well.
Well, you started off by saying that, and you have, you know, you're a bona fide expert for a bunch of reasons, that people that are in recovery are grateful and therefore work harder. Isn't that enough?
You would think it would be enough. I mean, there's actually there have been some studies, and the average employee in recovery would save the employer about $3,200 a year. And that's in simple things like showing up every day and tardiness and productiveness. Studies also show that people in recovery are slightly more intelligent or creative, and the thought might be, you know, it's kind of hard to stay inebriated for years and years on end. It takes a little bit of creativeness. So
fair enough, I suppose.
So again, the employers need to be educated as to what to expect. We have suggestions. One of the suggestions that we make right off the bat is a minimum of 90 days of sobriety for the people that use the site. But that we're not making that decision. We're not doing the vetting. We're a portal. We're putting A with B.
Of course.
And
so there's, you know, it's interesting to me though, because you see, I have to believe that, you know, along with DraftKings and FanDuel, that Monster and Indeed are they seem to be, they're everywhere.
Everywhere, all the time.
The largest advertisers in
Yes.
the Commonwealth, as well as maybe in the country and who knows in the world.
Yes.
So clearly, there's a huge need to put employees in the crosshairs of employers.
Yes.
So here's a unique, you talk about, what's the difference between Indeed and Monster? I'm sure I'll get letters, but
Right.
there is none.
Right.
Okay, it's just, you'd use both or neither or
Right.
whatever. Here's a situation where you're saying, okay, now is it all blue collar? Is there white
No.
collar? Is there like is it the whole range?
No, we have a job. We have several counselors positions up there right now on the board. One's with the Betty Ford Clinic, a subsidiary of the Betty Ford Clinic, and down to a warehouse job. Food service jobs are up there right now. So no, and we're not, since it's a website just like those guys, we're trying to attract the gamut from, we want Yale to jail. It's what, you know what I mean? It's what we're looking for.
So there's two aspects here as I'm hearing you. There's a business aspect. You need to figure out a way to get you funded.
Right.
And then there's the human aspect.
Correct.
So are connections being made? I mean, have you had any success in placing people?
We have.
Good.
We have put some people in food service. We have put some people in the counseling jobs, and we have put some people in warehouses.
There you go.
So yes, is there proof of concept? There's proof of concept. Again, it's letting people know we're here. And we, like I said, we spoke to the Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
We got 3 customers from talking to 14 different employers. We picked up 3 customers there.
Okay.
So
the businesses are posting their jobs on your website.
correct. Yes.
And I mean, from the time I was telling, our other guests, from the time when we first spoke up until I think this week was the last time I looked, I mean, it looked like, your listings doubled since first looking. So there's definitely stuff happening.
Right.
I think it's just, I don't know, I'm such a optimistic type of human and positive thinking, but I just think it's great that you're able to kind of like cut out all of the static and just, find those employers that are that willing to.
Is there I mean, chambers of commerce, government entities, is there a plan to get the word out? I mean, you're obviously burning shoe leather.
Correct.
You're guerrilla marketing.
That's right.
Is that
we are now, we've just spent some time with some heavy duty phone callers. We're going to start making phone calls. We're going to knock on doors. We have a gentleman that's in Florida just came up, and he's going to start knocking on employers' doors. The recovery community down in Florida is immense. It's a place where lots of people go for rehab. So yeah. So we recently had an interview with an angel investor, and he wanted more proof of concept. So we're taking the bull by the horns and we're knocking on the doors. Dan and I,
Right.
we've hired a few guys to start making phone calls and see how it develops.
Let's go in this direction also, because you said something at the beginning that I just remembered and I wanted to touch on. We just did a show on a recovery house. And the people that run that house made it very clear that it's very important to them that the people that live in their house have jobs.
Yes.
I don't know a lot about recovery.
Okay.
You come out of recovery, and then it's like, go get a job.
Correct.
But there's no support. There's
not minimal at best. You're
so
on your own.
How do I explain the gap on my resume?
Exactly.
Help me through that.
Exactly. Well, so we're upfront about that right now. We're asking employers to consider that. That's the problem. And that's where our applicant base will come from, because the old adage, you go in and you say, well, I was taking care of a sick loved one for 2.5 years. It's just not working. So there's an untapped skill set out there. There's has to be, just through the numbers, tons of people that today can't move laterally or vertically because of the resume problem. If we had a pool of employers who knew that they were going to hire someone who's now being honest about their recovery, then we can help people move. We can help people get those jobs, put them in that. We're not treatment, but we know that the rebuilding of self-esteem is an integral part and necessary part of recovery. It's just, it's probably one of the most important ingredients of staying in recovery. And that's the important part. People can come out, they can relapse and do this whole thing, do the dance over and over again, back to the rehab, back there. I think if we could put people in positions of responsibility, help them rebuild self-esteem, we'll keep people sober longer.
And by hooking them up with employers is the best way to do that.
Certainly.
But you need the employers to admit that putting it out there is worthy
Certainly.
of praise.
There's the mountain to climb.
So let's talk about treatment and recovery. I heard you mention that there's some stuff that isn't so good. Are there ways that we could make this better?
Well, the whole concept of treatment is new. It's brand new. It's only really being focused on now because of the opioid crisis and because of the death toll.
But it just seems to me that the concept of the job as part of the treatment it's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer, right?
And that's not a part of it now.
Well, I think in the recovery business, I think a lot of the recovery business.
Go there. Go ahead. I know where you're going.
Okay, they don't want to lose customers.
Is it really that cynical?
I think, unfortunately, that may be the case. In some cases, there are a lot of good people out there that have other people's welfare at heart, and that's why they're in the business.
Well, we had two of them on the show before.
But there's I also believe that there's a business aspect out there that is about making money. It's about relapse to them is money in the bank, and I'd like to see that changed. I'd like to see more oversight on that whole industry.
Do you think that hooking up with a recovery company such that the next logical step is the job, sort of, We've been to the biggest ones around here. We've been to Living Grin and Recovery Centers of America. We've been to Malvern. We actually host workshops at Malvern and Living Grin for the importance of jobs in recovery, and with that, we would like them to put our information in their exit packages to their people that are leaving and going out into the world. But it strikes me that and while that's God's work, I mean, absolutely, but it strikes me that you probably are having less trouble finding applicants. It's the hookup with the employers that needs somebody to oversee that. Again,
it's the educating the employers, making them understand that there's a talent pool out there that they don't recognize and is untapped at this time. And that's part of what we feel is our duty. It's part of our mission is to educate employers. Certainly. And
that's where the chambers of commerce and things like that come in. You give talks and so on and so forth.
And if there's 11 million employers out there right now that have more than one employee, because there's like 30 million businesses in the United States, 11 million of them have more than one employee, and so out of that 11 million, you have to figure that there's quite a few that have CEOs or owners that are in recovery themselves and would be sympathetic to this program. Again, we need to get the word out to them that we're here, and little by little, we're doing so.
That's getting the word out. That's the mission.
If you know someone that would like to jump on board, or if you'd like to jump on board yourself, so we certainly could use the help.
Well, running the home care operation, it might be something that we could take a meeting on. So
fantastic.
That's it's an interesting idea. That's why I asked you about the blue collar aspect.
Right.
Because it is something that we're always looking for good people. So.
Very quickly, the money that comes from the LLC, the profit side, the profits from the LLC go into our nonprofit. The mission of the nonprofit is to educate the people that use our programs. We're working with colleges and high schools and trade schools to have them just give us classroom time. We're asking them to donate classroom time so we in turn can offer that as an additional incentive to the people that use the program to stay in the program. And we're hoping to develop transportation, help people with transportation needs, child care, rent money, and it's a lofty.
But again, the last word is you need the employers to buy in.
We need employers to buy in.
So that's what's got to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hopefully, what little we've done to augment that, I hope that it works out for you. Good luck in the future. This is a wonderful concept, and quite frankly, with the markets the way they are, there's a clear need.
Certainly.
So you guys have certainly figured out a way, from a business standpoint, you've figured out a way to set yourself apart from the competition. Now you just need the clientele to buy into the concept.
Correct.
And it's a good concept, so I'm sure it will come around at some point.
It's all based on honesty, which is the best policy.
That's the best policy, absolutely. So let's do one more time. The website, RetroFitCareers.com, the Instagram account @RetroFitCareers, and the Facebook page. On Facebook, search Retrofit Careers. Doug, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
A lot of good information. I hope things work out for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, Sarah, it's been another day at the studio. So, how'd you come through this one? You feel good about this?
Oh, I'm so happy about this show.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad for that. I'm glad somebody is.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on Race on Main. Check out all our past shows on raceonmain.com, as well as on YouTube and whatever other streaming video channels. Vimeo. That's a thing. Back to Sarah.
Sorry.
No worries.
Because we talked about, don't forget, the show is sponsored by Red Lion Home Care.
Yeah, we probably should. We probably should mention the sponsor, Red Lion Home Care. That said, please join us for all future shows, and take care of your first responders. They're out there taking care of you. Thanks very much.